Coming up today on Locked On Texas Tech, will Chance McMillan, leading scorer from round one, be a part of round two between Tech and Houston? We investigate next on Locked On Texas Tech.
You are Locked On Texas Tech, your daily podcast on the Texas Tech Red Raiders. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Great to be with you again on Locked On Texas Tech on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, always free and available on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks as always for making us your first listen. Today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. So visit FanDuel.com to get started with the only Chris Level. I'm Casey Cowan. Chris, great to be back with you again on a day we have been looking forward to really since a year ago. One of the regrets for me as a Tech fan of last year's schedule is that you did not have a chance to host the Houston Cougars in the LBK. So been looking forward to this one regardless, but looking forward to it even more so as you still won on the road in interesting fashion to say the least just a few weeks back. And now Kelvin Sampson and company are headed to the LBK as the Red Raiders will look to continue their winning ways from United Supermarkets Arena. We'll get into, of course, what went down in the first round. And I'm kind of curious in general, are there takeaways from that when you apply to round two, or was it such a singularly kind of weird context or setting that maybe there's not that much to apply? And we'll also get, of course, to Chance McMillan. But Chris, this is one of the great offerings the Big 12 regular season has to offer for Tech fans. So expecting one of the best nights yet at the USA.
Yeah, I mean, this is a team that's like in most of the metrics and everything. They're like, whether it's net or Ken Palm, they are like third or fourth. They are 15-1 in the league. They are, the two of their four losses on the season are to Bama and Auburn. And then obviously you were responsible for one of them, but those other two are like against 1 and 2 ranked teams in the country were a couple of weeks ago. And in small margins that they beat Houston by. So it's just a really good team, man. That's just all there is to it. This is kind of call it what it is, man. I mean, this used to be, like when Oklahoma and Texas were still in the Big 12, it was OU's football league, and anybody claiming otherwise was just, they were winning that. Well, and then from a basketball standpoint, it was Kansas. I mean, they were winning the regular season championship all the time, regularly. But this is now Houston's league. I mean, I don't know if anybody's ready to hand off that unofficial title yet, but they're well on their way to winning their back-to-back regular season Big 12 championships. And it would take a lot would have to happen for that not to occur. But it doesn't make anything about this game tonight any less important for Texas Tech or for Houston, for that matter. Is you're trying to play your best, and you're trying to play for seeding, and you're trying to play for conference standing or maintain as such, and all that. But this is a really good team coming in here, and there's zero reason why this shouldn't be an unbelievable, full, packed out environment tonight. I know Grant had said it after the game. He hopes that all the students are certainly there, and the student section wasn't full the other night against West Virginia, and so I hope that it is tonight. But yeah, your team's they're gonna need every bit of energy and all kinds of things to beat this team. Houston team is just really good because they've almost lost games. By some miracle, they pulled that off in Lawrence, Kansas. By some miracle. Even Kelvin Sampson has been quoted, and he said it. I'm still trying to figure out how we pulled that one off. I don't know either, dude. I mean, I really do not know. And maybe it was Kansas that lost it as much as you won it. I don't know. And then they go to UCF, and they're dead to rights with like less than 2 seconds to go, and they draw up a perfect play that could have easily rimmed out or banked off the rim or whatever, and he buries it. They get on the airplane from Orlando, come back home, they won. I mean, but that's and then you got them. And it was still, it took everything you had and then some. Even Emily Elaho was 21 minutes in there, and Jeff Linder did his finest work. So, but it's just a really good team. That's just all there is to it. They've got rebounding, they've got shot making, they've got depth. They've got experience, about as much experience as anybody in the league. They're old. They're extremely well coached. And as Kelvin Sampson would tell you, culture is not something you can reach out and touch, but you can see it when a team has it. And these are two programs that I think have a lot of it. But Kelvin Sampson's program, certainly they will fight you almost literally any night out for sure.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll have an extra chip on their shoulder coming into this one after that result the first time around back in Houston. Before we get back to that first matchup, Chris, Chance McMillan obviously not on the floor for Tech against West Virginia over the weekend. Was there any trend to indicate that we're headed towards an expected result as far as his availability at tip for this one? Do you think it's still very much just up in the air what the decision could be at game time, or what's the vibe? How you feeling?
And I don't know whether this is ankle or whether this is foot. I don't know what I'm rooting for, but what I didn't like, was Chance at TCU, and this is what I'm seeing from my elevated view of the court that particular night, is him retying his shoe, kind of limping back to the huddle, and he kept kind of touching on the top of his foot. That gives me pause. Because that you'd almost rather it be an ankle or almost rather, it's like if it's top of your foot, that sometimes can be bad. Grant says that this was precautionary. I think you're trying to value or evaluate, how do we mitigate risk here? Like what's it worth? Can we beat West Virginia without him? Not that you're trying to tell your guys or say anything to West Virginia, we think we can beat you without our guy. No, it's just, But what's the risk that you're taking if you play him on Saturday and he's less than 100%? Can we re-injure it? How close to 100% or 80% is he? If we give him a couple extra days, is this better for him, for us, whatever? Because you've got to think big picture too, off into the distance a bit. And unfortunately, you don't necessarily have a Big 12 championship on the line or anything anymore. That, again, would take mathematically still possible. It's absolutely going to take a win tonight, and then Houston's going to have to drop two more, and you're going to have to not lose. And there's just a lot that needs to go on. So, but I'll tell you what concerned me just a bit.
First, today's episode brought to you by PrizePicks. Testing your skills on PrizePicks this football season is the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports and the best way to spice up any game, anytime. You think you got what it takes to win up to 100 times your money? All you got to do is select 2 to 6 players, pick more or less on their projected stats, place your entry, and boom, you're ready to roll. PrizePicks is not only the best way to get action on sports in most states, including Texas, but PrizePicks also puts their members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When the picks hit, you can get your money in as quick as 15 minutes. With easy gameplay, quick withdrawals, and a giant selection of players, projections, and stat categories, it's no surprise that PrizePicks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So get in on the fun and the winning and download the PrizePicks app today and use our code LOCKEDONCollege, and you're going to get $50 instantly when you play only $5. Again, that's our code LOCKEDONCollege on PrizePicks to get $50 instantly when you just play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. With PrizePicks, run your game.
But I'll tell you what concerned me just a bit is that they had senior day ceremonies on Saturday, and he's got just a slight little limp as he walks out there. He was in uniform, and I think that's just the way he wanted to roll with it. Didn't want to be in street clothes with a boot on or whatever. He was in uniform, walked out to midcourt and all that. But he just a little limp out there, going out there to shake Grant's hand and with his family and all those kinds of stuff. I don't know, man. Typically, if these things happen during a game, you're more likely to see a player come right back in and play and finish, because really the damage, you're going to have more of a feel for that the next day when you've gone to sleep and swelling sets in, or the pain sets in, and maybe that's what happened here. But I don't know. It's not going to surprise me one way or the other if he either plays or doesn't play. And I don't know at what level, if he plays tonight, at what level he will play. And it's going to be tough without him. However, as we know, miracles do happen, or guys do step up, and you did that. You did this one time prior, and Chance was one of the ones. He was had that burden to bear in Houston, and he did it. He was your leading scorer, and he bossed up big time. So I don't know what we're getting there tonight. I guess to answer your question, I hope there's no lasting effects from Darion Williams' situation. That's the problem with the quick turnaround here too, is that there's just, or the no gap in the schedule. You're just kind of forced to like push through and grind through. So I don't know, man. I guess we will see. There won't be. We'll all know together when you show up. 30 minutes, an hour before the game starts, and check out warm-ups. That's all I know.
We all want them to all be on the floor so they can be the best team they can be, obviously. But I think the verdict is in by this point in the year where, as a fan, you mostly, don't freak out here or there missing this guy or that guy, because you have found so many different ways to win. I mean, you mentioned it, I think on a previous episode, kind of just running off the list of guys that you found success without during this Big 12 run, including your head coach within this previous matchup, as you worked most of the day with Grant McCaslin in the locker room. It's crazy.
It is, as we look back on that game, I mean, that is because I think, and it's even more or worth more bringing it up now, but like I think people have, and my fault too, because I don't really bring it up, but people forget in that first matchup too, Kevin Overton didn't play. And like you're just coming off of a game where he gave you 10 off the bench, he provided the spark and some juice, but you went at this with a bare minimum here against one of the. This is one of, and it still it maintains this level of win, but it's one of the top 2 or 3 wins in the sport this season that anybody's gotten. I mean, it's just got a red flashing light on any resume, and a lot of people don't have a win like that or close to it, no. But you do, and I mean it, and nobody can take it away from you. And I still. Even though I sat right there, I watched every bit of it. I was as close to it as you could possibly be. I said things. I said more things. I had to pinch myself going, what the hell's going on? And then watching this, it's still unbelievable that it happened. All of it, really. It's still unbelievable that it all happened and that you pulled it off. But you damn sure did. And credit to some of your DNA and your culture and things like that. And Kelvin Sampson was extremely classy afterwards and gave all the credit to Texas Tech after it was over with. And wow.
Hope he's doing the same thing at the end of this one.
Well, yeah, that's right. Although I can tell you what he's probably doing coming into this matchup tonight. I mean, he's going to remind everybody the locker room pictures, the fun videos you had, the celebratory this, the celebratory that, the headlines. They will use everything they can to refresh memories from that night, and his guys will come in with a massive chip on their shoulder, and they will be angry, and they will be looking for a little bit of blood. And you better understand that that's what's coming down the train tracks if you're in a Texas Tech uniform tonight. And I think Grant's task is to, and he had an edge after the win on Saturday. He did. It wasn't some happy mood. It was like he had already turned the page, and Gerald Myers walks out into the hallway and he goes, "Were you in there for that post-game speech?" I said, "No, sir." And he said, "He's already tuning them up for Houston." And I was like, "Oh, is he? Okay." And so I'm like, well, yeah, that's the deal. And so, yeah, you don't have any time to really celebrate before you are looking ahead to this next massive opportunity in all caps. And I hope that you have your full complement of players tonight. But
I want to ask you about that before we get to kind of going back to what worked for Tech basketball-wise for those that actually did participate in the first round. If Chance McMillan is not on the floor, going back to the West Virginia game, I'm really curious. You can speak to it offensively as well, how maybe things shift there, but I'm really curious defensively because not that it's all been Chance McMillan, because I know there's great team defense being played as well, but I view him as one of your individual stoppers. What did you see shift as far as maybe trying to pick up some of that defensive slack or how things were handled without him on the floor Saturday, and maybe what we can anticipate tonight, because he was a big defensive presence.
Yeah, and the problem is okay, each team presents a different matchup, okay, or set of problems, if you will. And West Virginia was what I would say was more of it's an easier scouting report. Not that it's easy to execute it, but it's an easier, less confusing scouting report, okay? You've got one main scorer in Javon Small. You've got a pretty good player in Hansberry that is a pick and pop guy. And then there was this freshman named Jonathan Powell that is he's a freshman that's a really good three-point shooter. Okay. Other than that, everybody else is more of a rebounder, a dirty work guy. So as you try to explain to your players, here's what we're going to do here. It's less things to remember. It's easier to execute because there's only so many things we're going to ask you. Like if we take Powell's shots away from the corner, if we take Hansberry's ability to pick and pop, if we can make Small do certain things. With Houston, though, they provide a lot more problems because they've got three Jonathan Powells out there that can because that's what the Sampson father-son duo has told people nationally about this particular team is that we've had really good teams like this before, but we've never had as many guys that can go get us a bucket or can shoot it like this particular group has. Uzan, Cryer, Sharp, and then Malik Wilson, former Red Raider, has been able to just knock down enough jumpers. Heck, the whole Kansas miracle, I mean, he buries a three. And if they miss it, we're having a different conversation about what their league record is. But he buried it. And so they've got enough guys. And then you've just got the best collection of bigs in the league. I mean, it's, Tugler and Roberts and Francis. I mean, it's just like, geez. I mean, look like they were made in a lab, and they like, hey, where's the Houston big man lab? Because that's where they made them all. And they all look the same skill set, same toughness, same DNA, same measurables, all the stuff. And they rebound, they score, they are a problem. But so this will be a bit tougher if you don't have chance to answer your question with a long answer, because you're going to have to ask your guys to do a bit more, and you can't get into foul trouble, and you can't. Now, again, you did this the first time, though. So as much as I want to sit here and give credit to Houston, you've done this. And you've executed, and you've played without fouling. You've hit big shots. You've hung with them on the glass. But that's defensively, it will be a bit different than it was against West Virginia if Chance can't go. If he can go, what level is he, and then how many minutes can he give you? Are we talking 5? Are we talking 30? Which one is it closer to? And then how effective can he be? Because he put you on his back in that first one. Remember him getting to the rim at the end when you can't really get into the paint, and he just was like, no plan B. I'm getting downhill. I'm going to get to the free throw line. I'm getting my team back on the scoreboard. I mean, there was just enough of that to where you will miss that if you don't have it, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. And I feel like the answer to this question is, are you nuts? But I would ask it anyway. Can we look to Christian Anderson to pick up some of that slack? I mean, he's a freshman, and I'm acting like, not trying to suggest it's apples to apples, but his defensive presence has been, I think, felt for quite some time now. So maybe he's somebody that can step in those shoes to a degree.
So if Chance can't play, you can expect Christian will play well, almost just because, and I said this on the broadcast over the weekend. I said it before the game started, and then he got a quick 5 points, and I'm like, I'm telling you, he is going to have a big game today. I'm saying that coming from he didn't play his best game the previous game. He knew it, and I think he just worked so hard at it. But then also the set of circumstances that's dictated to you, you have no choice. He's going to maybe get to play through some mistakes. He's going to have to play big minutes. He's just too good. He's going to produce, period. And then when you factor in that he didn't foul on Saturday, but that's what will happen tonight. If Chance were to be limited or not be able to play, Christian will play well. That's the least of my worries or concerns. Is it good enough to beat Houston or to put his team in? I don't know, but he will be the least of my concerns. He's seen it. He's been bumped, and he's played the physicality, and he's done with all the stuff that Houston tries to provide when you play him, and he'll figure it out, and he'll get 35 to 37 minutes of game time to be able to figure it out if there's no Chance McMillan. So, keep in mind too, Emmanuel Sharp is one of their experienced guards, combo guards, one of their best shooters. At that time you played him the first time, he did play that day. He was a bit limited coming off of an ankle injury. I think he's been healthier in recent weeks. So, again, both of these teams could be slightly different based on what you see tonight compared to the first time. And Kevin Overton will play. Now, he can't speak from an experience he's just there and watched it. And then I'm curious how they defend
First, today's episode brought to you by FanDuel. And when the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip or want to bet on a fourth-quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. And FanDuel's live betting feature electrifies every moment. Whether backing your team for a late-game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch shot, you're never going to miss your chance to get in on the action. Plus, the app, easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet hits. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. And make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
And then I'm curious how they defend JT Toppin, or what do you do? Because we didn't really see any of that. He had no points and 1 rebound in 4 minutes before he was inexplicably sent to the locker room. And so how does that factor into this deal? I don't really know.
Yeah, what do you make of that first matchup and things that eventually worked for is it stuff that you can still apply here, or was that just what that day called for because of those circumstances?
Good question. When that happened, I think we said on the air, and I still believe this, and I still would say this applies even tonight. You're going to have to make your fair share of threes in this game. You made 12 in the first one. They only made 5. I'm not saying you have to get to a big number like that, but I just don't know if you can score enough against this kind of defense if that's not a part of it. In other words, if we're sitting here and you only made 5 or 6, I just don't know if you can win. Okay? So that has to be a part of things. That has to carry over. The other thing, what you did in the first one, and it should be easier to do this with Toppin, you got to hang with him on the glass. You don't have to win the matchup, but you can't let him crush you. And it was I think you were I've got it in front of me. Yes, it was. It was. It was a -1 for you in the first game. Their offensive rebounds, they had 16, you had 14. So by every metric, you were right there. It was a fairly even battle because they average about 6 more boards than opposition in every game. Because what Houston does, Kelvin Sampson will tell you this. This is math. This is a math equation for us here at the University of Houston. We are really good at rebounding. In fact, we drill it. We are emphatic about it. I tell my kids, this is because I've heard him say these things, that when a shot goes up, they need to act like it's a pass to them, whether it's one of our guys shooting it or the opposition. I feel like that's a free ball. It's a pass to them. Go get it. And you okay, right. So they rebound like crazy. And then they are the best in the Big 12 at the fewest amount of turnovers per game. So when you factor in these two things, you're really good at rebounding and you don't turn it over. What Kelvin Sampson will tell you is this is all about possessions. If we have 10 or 15 more possessions per game than the opposition, we're going to beat you. And they have repeatedly to everybody. So we don't give extra possessions because we don't turn it over. And then we create extra possessions because we rebound, we get offensive rebounds, we give ourselves second and third opportunities. And over time, the math there will work in our favor. Plus, he's got good players that execute these things. So that's really what you're looking at. And in the first game, it was a pretty low turn. I think you only had like 9 turnovers in the first game. Houston also was right there, but then you hung with them on the glass. So there wasn't this massive amount of possessions more than you, and that's why you were in a position to win it. But then you hit big shots and things like that. So that's what needs to translate. Your low turnover game, hang with them on the glass. You'll be in this thing. If not, if either one of those gets a bit lopsided and they start to have that many more possessions than you tonight, you're in trouble.
Yeah, you were within one of each other in both of those columns, turnovers and rebounding. So it was really even. And that is definitely one thing you can apply from the first matchup to the second matchup. Make big plays in the biggest moments. Write that one down. Just continue to do that and apply it to every matchup the rest of the way out, because there was a hell of a lot of that going on.
And I said 9 turnovers in the first. You had 13, but they had 12. Maybe I was remembering.
That point stands. I mean, you were right there. So there wasn't like a big extra benefit in that column for either one. But I would love to see this matchup with JT Toppin involved. So excited about that. And I would love to see it again with Chance McMillan involved, because that worked out very well for the Red Raiders last time, as we already mentioned. And then leading the team with 23 that day.
Can we be a building truster tonight?
Might as well. Hey, trust doesn't just depend on the day of the week. If you're trusting the building, we're trusting the building, and we're trusting the building.
Yeah, and the building has to be special. You have to do your part if you're on this team or on the staff, whatnot. But the building has to do its part. These opportunities, because this is if you just look at like in the sport. This is a heavyweight fight, man, by every metric, by the ranking. I don't know, at the time people will be consuming this, we won't know what the new rankings will look like, but Wisconsin lost, A&M lost. I don't know if you'll fall back too much or if you'll stay around the same. I don't know, obviously, with your loss to TCU ranking wise. Bottom line is this will be 2 top 15 teams. Based on the net and the Ken Palm and all that, this will be 2 top 7 or 8 teams in the country, which again, those are more important than the what the AP or coaches poll or whatever says. But it's a fun opportunity. And for Texas Tech, what does this mean? I think we thought down, several weeks ago, this may factor into the Big 12 title regular season. Tonight, this is about. You can ceiling and floor, you can like raise the floor quite a bit by where you would be seated in the tournament, by where you would have to go. Theoretically, you get 2 wins over Houston, like you could start having a conversation like you're not going to be anything worse than a 4 or a 5 seed, even if you just lost them all down the stretch. Like that's your floor, with a win, with a loss. It's not going to hurt you. Like you're still going to be 7th or 8th, as long as you don't lose by like 30 or 40. You're still going to be 7th or 8th based on these metrics, because Houston is so good, because they're like 3rd in everything. So kind of a fascinating freebie opportunity here. But I'm looking forward to it, and I would prefer that the red and black make the most of it. That would be fun, because again, man, it could pay some serious dividends for you.
Yeah, and it's just fun to beat Kelvin Sampson, always. In-state opponent, highly thought of or otherwise. You love to beat that kind of foe.
Yeah.
And this one is highly thought of, so it would be great for your resume as well. Whole lot on the line. Side note, do whatever you need to do down the stretch. Stay off that 5 line. Just don't even toy with that. I know how that can go in the NCAA tournament, so let's shoot for 4. That 5 can be a little scary, can't it? That matchup always seems like it gets wild, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. All right, Chris, enjoy a big ball game from United Supermarkets Arena. You got a great seat for it, and we'll get together on the other side to process it for better or worse. It's Tech and Houston part 2 from United Supermarkets Arena. Thanks for the time as always, man. Enjoyed it, and we'll see you for the next one.
Absolutely, man. Sounds good. I hope to see you there. And if you show up, man, be loud, be rowdy, help your team if you can, because they've got a tough task ahead of them. But again, been done before.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. So yeah, guns up, everybody. Keep hope alive.
Should be full-throated and lathered to the
and be a building truster.
8:00 tip, man. Big Monday. Biggest game in the nation. So
yes.
No reason to not be electrified for this one at the USA. Looking forward to it. All right. Thank you, Chris. And thank you, everybody, for being out there. As always, get subscribed so you miss nothing on YouTube or anywhere you get podcasts. And thanks to the everydayers for being out there, and the Matador Mob as well. Hit the show notes if you're interested in becoming a Matador Mob insider. Find the link to a free 14-day trial. That's the direct line to Chris and myself with a one-on-one text sent straight to your phone. For Chris, I'm Casey. Thanks for the time, and we hope to see you back for the next round on Locked On Texas Tech.